Welcome back to the Build Beyond podcast. This episode is going to be more assistance with helping people who feel like motivation is an issue. There are a lot of different tactics and tricks, and they don't necessarily all work for everyone. And so when I come across different techniques that I think might be useful, I like to make episodes because, 75% of you, maybe this isn't relevant. Maybe you've tried this. Maybe this just wouldn't work for you. But maybe there's like a 25% of my listeners where this simple exercise will resonate with you, and it will help you find the ability to make the changes that you need consistently and then long enough to get what you want. Because I had an interaction with a patient recently, it was yesterday, and I said to her at one point, it sounds like you're desperate. Now, I've known this patient for a while. We've worked together for a while. We've seen some results. Her life is incredibly busy. I mean, it's a very typical, she's a typical working mom, multiple kids, job, commute, and everything else that goes along with life. And she is stretched really, really thin, and she's dealing with chronic pain, and she has trouble sticking to a plan. And because of that, she is, and she realizes that. I don't think, but there are so many things going on in her life that I think just make it hard. And she loses track, and not loses track. She gets swept up in really important things and then doesn't have the time to follow through or the energy to follow through with a plan that she has faith in. So when I asked her, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is complete confidence and 1 is very little confidence. If you could stick to this plan, how confident are you that it would give you the results that you want? And she said 9 out of 10. 9, 10. I'm very confident that if I could stick to it, this would work. She just lacks confidence in herself, in her ability to stick with it because of everything else that's going on in her life. So we went through an exercise, a habit stacking exercise, and this is something I got from Atomic Habits, which I think if you've never read that book, you should, or get the audio book. But we basically came up with one rehab exercise that we both believe could help her if she could do it consistently. And then we made a list of everything that she does like clockwork, every day. So brushing your teeth, drinking coffee, all these different things that she is definitely going to do every day. And then we made a list of all of the things that are definitely going to happen to her and they're out of her control. So the sun rises, the sun sets, you get text messages. So we have all of these lists of inevitable things. And then we thought, okay, we're going to take this one rehab exercise and we're going to pair it with certain things. What in here could you pair it with? And so we found a way pretty quickly to help her pair it with something that was going on in her life. So it was like, okay, at the bare minimum, you're going to get in 4 rehab sessions a day, maybe even up to 10. So we'll see if this works. So this is a new thing that we've tried. But that's not really the technique I want to talk about today, because I think even for her, and for a lot of my patients, we're going to have to go a little bit deeper to get to that reason why we're doing this. And I was reading something this morning that I wish I had read a couple days ago, because I would have used it in that appointment. And maybe the next time I see this patient, we'll go over this if she's not getting the results with the habit stacking exercise. But I think this is what I'm about to share with you, I think is really valuable. And I think if you are feeling desperate, you've got chronic pain or an injury, and you're just not getting the results. Maybe you don't have a plan, but maybe you do have a plan, or you know, if you have an idea of everything that you would need to do to feel better, you just it's hard. You don't feel confident that you're able to stick to that. I think this can help you. Oops. So we are looking at a concept called change talk. So these are the thoughts or the things that you say that indicate that you want to change. So like, I know I need to quit smoking. I know I would be healthier if I stopped drinking 10 sodas a day. Things like that. So you're actually acknowledging that, oh, this is the talk and the thoughts where you acknowledge that you need to make a change. We want to harness that, right? So something that you can do, you can ask yourself some questions that we would consider to be directional questions. And I would encourage you, if you're desperate and you're struggling to make the change, but you have an idea of what changes would be ideal for you, write down these questions and then ask yourself and write down the answers. And at the end of it, see where you are mentally, because I think this could be a game changer for some people. So ask yourself this question: how would I like for things to be different? It's a simple question. It's very open-ended. Write down all the different ways that you would like for things to be different. So let's say in a year, if you get everything that you want out of this idea that you have, or these changes that you know you need to make, how would you like for things to be different? Or you could ask yourself, why would I want to make these changes? Or this change? Maybe it's just one change. Why? Why would I want to? If I decide to do this, how might I go about it in order to succeed? So what are the things that you're going to have to do, or who are you going to have to get help from? What do you need to do in order to make this plan succeed? And then you can ask yourself, what strengths or abilities do I have that could help me make this change? Because feasibly, you've done hard things in your life. You've overcome adversity. You have skills. You have talents. What could you harness? What do you have in there? Let's see. What would you say are the best reasons for you to make this change? Write down all the best reasons to do this. And why do you need to do this? Why is this actually important to you? These might seem obvious, but put this down on paper. And then do this exercise. And this is something that I had already alluded to that I did with my patient, actually. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is not important at all, and 10 is the most important thing in your life right now, how important would you say it is for you to make this change? And then, so that's your confidence in the plan or in the changes. And then we can talk about your confidence in your ability to make the changes. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how confident are you that you could do this if you decided to? You need a plan. Ideally, you need some confidence in your plan that it's actually going to get you the results. So on a scale of 0 to 10, ideally it's an 8, 9, or a 10. And if it's not, you need a better plan. So you may need to talk to someone like me to help you get that plan. And then if you don't have confidence in yourself, we need to get that up to an 8, 9, or a 10. And if we don't have that confidence, we've got to figure out why. And the answer why may be in some of those questions that you already asked yourself. Here's another great one. If you did make this change or these changes, what are the best possible benefits that you can imagine? This is this is looking into the future a year. What's the best outcome? And then you could explore extremes in the other direction. So suppose you didn't make the change. Just stay the same. What are the worst things that could happen? There's always a risk to making changes, but you still need to consider the risk of not changing. And I think that's a big one, because sometimes when you look at how hard change could be and how risky it might be, it might seem insurmountable. It might seem crazy to even think about it. But when you think about the risk or the inevitability of what will happen if you don't change, ooh, that could be a powerful motivator. Now we're talking about, it makes me think about A Christmas Carol. And the one that comes to mind is the old Scrooge McDuck one when I was a kid. But when the ghost of Christmas future, shows him what his life could be like, I don't want that, and he knows he needs to make some changes. And I think that's it. I think that those questions, and I'll write a summary of these questions in the notes of this podcast. So if you look at the discussion, or you can shoot me an email, shoot me a message or DM me, or just get a hold of me, maybe give me a phone call. If you can get my number, and then we can talk about this if you need to, because I feel like if you have answers to these questions and you have 8, 9, or 10 confidence in the plan, and you can somehow find 8, 9, or 10 confidence that you can execute the plan, that's pretty good. And then maybe on top of that, you do some habit stacking. So like I said, you write down all the stuff that's inevitably going to happen throughout your day, and you find part of that plan that you could start with, and you start to habit stacking, pair it up. You're on a roll then. Because even when the habit stacking fails or you fall off the plan, you can go back to these questions and you can realize that there's a really strong why for why you're making these changes. And, I use these tactics for pain management, but it's also good for health, because a lot of the lifestyle changes that we utilize for long-term pain management, especially for our chronic pain patients, that just make you healthier. We're increasing physical activity. We're adding in resistance training, trying to build some lean muscle mass. We are jacking up the heart rate. We're doing cardio, trying to build that VO2 max. We're desensitizing tissue. We are trying to make people less fearful of movement. And that is through coaching, through skill, through repetition, helping people get more confidence. We're talking about food. Nutrition becomes very important. We talk about sleep. These are all the things that when you're desperate, for desperate people, these aren't marketable things. And I feel like when you're desperate and someone tells you the obvious, you need to sleep more, you need to eat better, we need to get more physical activity, more exercise. The desperate person you understand that. I'm not telling you anything new. Unfortunately, though, when you're desperate, you're susceptible to a lot of marketing. So there's a lot of people out there and say, oh, well, all you need is this product. You need this supplement or these supplements, or you just need to come in and I'll x-ray your back and we'll crack this specific segment and it's going to fix everything. There's a lot of gimmicks out there, and those gimmicks prey on desperate people. So if that's you, and you've got a cabinet full of supplements and a basement full of gadgets, and you've done this and you've done that, and you're getting this treatment and that treatment, and you don't know if it's working, and there's not really a clear, coherent plan, and everyone's making it sound like, oh, they've got the answer, this is the root cause of your problem, and you don't have a lot of confidence in it, well, guess what? The solution is probably what you don't want to hear and what you already know deep down inside. We need to do some lifestyle changes. We need to get you moving. And if you're already moving, we need to talk about that and make sure that the movement and the exercise that you're doing is supplementing or augmenting what you want to be able to do. Right? Make sure we're not burning the candle at both ends. We got to talk about stress management. We got to talk about sleep. We got to talk about food. We got to talk about your mindset, how you think of and how you might catastrophize some of this pain. And maybe you need more knowledge, you need more education, and none of this stuff is sexy. None of this stuff sounds good on a commercial. I can't bottle it up and sell it. But the cool thing is it's all within you. The motivation is in there within you, and the abilities are in there within you, but you have to figure out a way to harness that in your mind and then execute. And some of these tactics that I'm talking about in these podcasts where I'm constantly talking about motivation, we got to connect somehow. We got to find that deeper why. That why has to be strong, and you have to see the future that you want to make happen. And we have to keep our eye on that, and then always be able to go back to our motivation. And then we use tactics like habit stacking to start to build in and these things and do them and replicate them long enough over and over again. So we're getting those to get what you want, because you have what you want is on the other side of some hard stuff. And I was talking to another patient the other day, and we were talking about and maybe if you haven't seen this movie, it won't make sense, but if you haven't seen A League of Their Own, you got to go back and watch that movie with old school with Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, a lot of actors in it. And, it's a baseball movie, and Tom Hanks is an alcoholic, former professional baseball player turned coach. And, Gina Davis is complaining about things being hard. And he was probably drunk at the time or hungover. And Tom Hanks' character goes, "Of course it's hard. The hard is what makes it great." I'm probably not paraphrasing that correctly, but you get the idea. So what you want is on the other side of some hard stuff. And the way it's not on the other side of biohacks or gimmicks or marketing things that are meant to prey on desperate people. And if you don't feel like you have confidence in the plan, we have to fix that. And then if you don't feel like you have confidence in yourself to execute the plan, we have to address that, because that motivation is within you. And the questions that I went over today, those might be the key to unlocking what you need to get going. It might not be enough to get you to the end, but it might be enough to get you started. So I hope that's helpful. Hit me up if you need any help. Probably going to keep doing podcast episodes on motivation, because I don't know. If you've got a plan and you have the motivation to execute the plan, even if it's not a great plan, if you can do it long enough, as long as you're moving in the right direction, you're at least going to get a lot closer. So anyway, I hope this helps. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you guys later.